Welcome back to Stream Better. I'm Pastor Dennis Cummins with ExperienceChurch.tv, and this is my son,
Daryl Cummins, Media Director here at ExperienceChurch.tv.
And in our second episode, we were talking about first impressions. And matter of fact, it was going so well, we've turned it into a two-part series. So let's jump into that in a second. But also, just want to say thank you for liking, sharing it out, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that reminder button. And we appreciate your comments, your feedback. Help us know more about what it means to create a great first impression. So here's that part 2. Yeah, and I love how he segued into my second priority, and he didn't even realize it, and that is lens, your lens choice over the camera choice.
Yeah.
When you're going to select a camera, you need to hit the pause button right there, and you need to start thinking about lens choice first.
Yeah. So lenses. Your lens should really start with how far away is your camera going to be. Yeah. And that might also determine your camera. Now, it's important that we, when we're talking about lenses, that we identify what shots we're going to use, because this will determine what lenses you need and where. Right. For us, what we like to do is we like to have 3 cameras during the message. Our main head-on camera is at least a medium shot up, and that's a good conversation shot. Our second shot is a full body shot, which is a little more off to an angle, and then our third shot, which is our jib, the big moving crane, that is a wide shot. Now, the reason why I explain those is because depending on the shot that you need will determine the lens you need. So if you're, say, 100 feet away. Now, I saw this YouTube video, and I just was like, oh my God, this is such wrong information. Somebody said a 20 times lens would reach a 100-foot throw. Now, I'm not trying to combat or go against this person.
What are you reaching? What are you reaching? How tall is this person?
They said it would, get pretty close. Okay, 100 feet on a 20 times lens. We have 22 times lenses. 40 feet away, I can get to about here. Yeah. Now, you go back to 100 feet, and you'll probably get the entire body. So a 20 times lens, optical lens, depending on your throw, may or may not work. Now, let's go back to lens type, okay? There's cameras where they have interchangeable lenses, like broadcast cameras, and those are very expensive lenses, they can be. Or you can get them cheap, maybe several $1,000s off B&H or a broadcast reseller. You have camcorders, which have, the camera and the lens in one. Then you also have cine cameras, like Reds or Canon C100 series or Sony series or whatever. Those are more like DSLR lenses. And so depending on the style you want to shoot and your throw, and chances are if you're probably watching this, you're probably going to want to aim at a camcorder because it's an all-in-one camera. It's better. It's a better price for what you're looking at. And right now, at the time of this filming, there's a certain JVC camera that has a 20 times optical lens, but what it will do is it will also have allow you to do 40 times zoom, and there's no degradation of the quality. And if you're shooting at, I would say, 80 feet, that should definitely meet what you're looking at. So to summarize, how far away are you shooting?
As long as you have enough light.
Yes. How far away are you shooting? What type of style are you going for? Broadcast, cinema, film, things like that. And then the last thing is your budget. Yeah.
And we're going to have another episode just talking about glass, the glass in front of the camera. Yeah. We will talk about that way more in depth. But before we get further into that, I want to talk about this lighting, lens, and now we're going to get into my third priority, encoding. Yeah. Who is transporting your content from the camera to the end user? How are you getting your content to Facebook? How are you getting your content to your website?
Your streaming provider, in other words.
And so when you're looking at that, first impression, first three seconds. So what happens is, just to get me to click on it, I have to see a quality thumbnail. Exactly. That quality thumbnail has to be lit well, and it has to have color that's going to draw me in.
And it needs to be sharp.
Yes.
In focus.
If I see something, some flat image, bunch of white walls behind me and a person there, I'm not drawn into that. But if I have something with color and something that's sharp and clear, I haven't even hit the play button yet, but that's what's helping me to determine whether I'm going to hit the play button. So when I do hit the play button, now here's where bounce rates come in. Do I buffer? Am I waiting for a long time for this to play, or does it play right away? Or does it play and then stop and rebuffer, play, and get the spinning wheel of death?
Now, there's certain things with buffer. I just want to hit on that so I don't lose it. They say 70% of your people will stick with you during your first buffer, but then you'll only retain 40% of your people or viewers after your second buffer. Now, we want to clarify, because it's not always, buffer isn't always your fault. Okay, if you got somebody out in the boondocks and they've got no internet but maybe 1x, okay, buffering, that's not going to be on your end, that's going to be on their end. But it's our responsibility to make sure that we give the best quality to them. And so there's different ways of doing that. Facebook, in all honesty, Facebook is more of a evangelism tool. I really don't like streaming to Facebook. I should say I don't like the Facebook quality of stream. Because,
to be able to connect long term, we want them to come over to our website. They're going to get the best experience there.
YouTube is great. So if you guys are streaming for your people and you don't have a system in place, go to YouTube. YouTube is designed for videos. Facebook is designed for sharing photos about cats and dogs. And then the last place is our website, and that's the go-to place. Because the website, we can see the analytics better. And we also have an opportunity where if people get saved, they can click the Just Save button, or if they want to give, there's a banner there where they can give.
And Open through Life Church, they have a great skin player. It's free.
Yeah, that's what we use.
And so, why try to reinvent the wheel when they have it there? And they've got a plethora of gurus keeping that up to date and working. So, just go with what works a lot of times. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Don't say, oh, I can write code, I can do that. No. Stop it. Put your efforts somewhere else to do that.
And spend, if you need to spend a little extra money for a good live streaming provider and internet service provider, ISP, basically meaning internet speeds, do it. For example, you might have 100 down, 100 megabytes down, and say 15 up. Okay, and you're up encoding 15 megabits up. Well, first of all, that's a lot to encode up. We only encode, I think, maybe 6 megabytes up. Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to fill that buffer of 15 megabytes. Well, I've got it. Why not use it all? Well, because other people use internet. You've got your pastor that uses internet. You've got your computer that plays music. You've got your computer that runs ProPresenter. So
you need to leave overhead there.
Yeah, exactly, overhead. So those are just some things to consider.
So we've talked about lighting, lens, encoding, and getting transport to get the content to you. We haven't even touched on audio, and that's because, and don't get me wrong, I think audio is more important after they've connected than the rest, okay? But if you're going to get them to click and just to get to you and connect with you, those are my top three. And if you've got a different top three, will you share those with us? Because we would love to know, and we could comment on that. Let's tell you a little bit about where we're at ExperienceChurch.tv. We started out in standard def, and then I got some HD cameras, component HD cameras, and we were so excited. And then one of my great friends showed me the difference and brought some equipment in and showed me the difference of the power of choosing the right lens over the camera. And it wasn't about upping the quality, and my jaw hit, this was early on in my years, 13 years ago. A lot has changed since then. But where are we streaming right now, and why?
So right now, well, let me ask you this. Resolution, quality, things like that?
I don't want to jump into that.
Okay. So for us, basically we do 8 cameras. 8 camera shoot, and we use a variety of different cameras.
But we're shooting at 720p.
Yeah, 720p. Now we've got cameras that can do 1080. We've got cameras that can do 4K. And we'll get into 4K in a minute. I've got some horror stories with 4K. Because it's not as clear as you think it is. Get it clear, 4K, sharp. Anyway, bad pun. But for us, we do 8 cameras, and we set everything at 720p right now. Now, even though that's considered HD, not full HD, which is 1080p, our goal is 1080p, and we're going to be upgrading in a couple years to do HD. But the reason why we're 720p is because really right now, infrastructure. And then the second thing is storage, and then the third thing is the viewer.
Yeah, trying to get a higher quality image out to people. If people are having buffering issues at 720p, 1080i is going to be problematic. 1080p is definitely problematic. Getting that content out to them because you're just putting way more data out there. Number one. Number two, by having proper glass, like we have one lens that's like 50 grand.
Oh, when it was new, it was worth that. Now you can get it for about 10,000.
Right. Yeah. But when you look at the image quality that produces with the lighting that we have, we talk to other people in the industry and they can't believe we're 720p with the quality that we're conveying. And that's why I want to say lighting, lens quality, and encoding are so important to make sure you're getting the right compression rating. And so that way you're conveying all of that content, all of those colors to the end user.
Exactly. Another thing too is we don't shoot with our lenses wide open. You know, a lot of people, they like the blurry depth of field thing. For broadcast, you do not want that because, and this is where we can transition into 4K. People like sharp images. I've never seen anybody go, wow, that's a lot of resolution. They always go, wow, that's sharp.
Right.
And so for us, we have our lenses at about f4, f4.5, because that's where the sharpness in the lens is at. So we don't shoot at f1.8, even though we can. Why? Number one, depth of field. So if we focus for Pastor Dennis here, and the lens is set here, and Pastor Dennis walks up here, he is now super out of focus. And we don't want that.
We want cameramen are trying to...
Yeah, it becomes a big hassle to make sure you're in focus. You lose your sharpness. And so that's why we close the lens to where it's sharp. Things are in focus because it's better to have things in focus than out of focus. And that's what people will relate to.
Oh, I want it cinematic, you know, and people are talking like that, and they want the cinematic sermon. And what happens, though, is, you know, the reason you use depth of field is to draw people's focus and attention specifically to something you want them to focus on the screen. You can't do that with a moving subject. Now, maybe if your pastor stands at a pulpit and never moves, you might be able to do that. But the other thing you have to think about, too, is the amount of colors and the amount of moving lights that are going on as well. That's going to mess up the quality and the clarity of your stream.
Yeah, you got a fog machine that's going to, you know, soften your image.
You're going to have a lot of pixelations with a lot of moving lights.
Another thing, too, you know, you can do cinematic, but making sure that things are in focus. I mean, we know of a guy, he created a OB truck, broadcast truck, but it's designed for cinematic production. So it's essentially Netflix approved. And he uses cinema cameras, but he's got really long throw. Long throw means it can zoom very far. And I asked him about focus, you know, 120 feet. I asked him about focus. He goes, that's why we pay the camera guys top dollar. And if you've got a volunteer that runs it once every 2 or 3 weeks, you know, you can't expect them to maneuver that. So you also have to look at logistics as well.
And okay, so let's say your cameras can do 4K, but if you don't have proper lens to get that light in, it's going to look terrible. If you're going to have a 4K image and all you're going to do is shoot a person with black abyss behind them, it's pointless. You're wasting money to be able to provide something that is unrealistic.
Exactly. And the other thing with 4K too, you're looking at data. You know, 4K, I like to think of it as 4X. If HD is 1, 4K is 4 times the size of HD. And that's logistically what it is. And so I did a 4K show. Used Sony HDC 4300s, which were at the time the best broadcast 4K cameras. And we did about an hour and a half of shooting. And besides the technical issues, which I'll get into in a second, the file size was about 1.6 terabytes for an hour and a half. 1.6 terabytes, guys.
So you're going to edit that for every week?
Yeah, and the other thing you got to look at too, and this is just plain let's just be honest. Yeah, practical. If you're not the size of like Elevation Church, Joel Osteen, things like that, people are not going to care about 4K because it's not going to benefit them at all.
And you're not going to be able to buy the equipment to be able to edit it.
Yeah, the computing power, the storage space, the recording, the video hardware, not to mention the cabling. I mean, to get 4K SDI cables, you're looking at a lot of money. Plus, if you have got TVs that you want to run, you've got to think about signal degradation. Well, it's all digital. Well, digital has limitations.
Yes.
And this is where, you might be like, dude, my head hurts right now because I thought I needed 4K, I didn't. Hey, reach out to us. We will help, sit down, go in depth with you on, do you need HD, full HD, 4K,
HDR.
Yeah, HDR. And really, if you have the opportunity to do HDR over 4K, do that, because HDR, you're getting way better colors, you're getting way better contrast, and people care about that more than they do pixels sharpness. Yeah.
So do this for us in the comment section. Mm-hmm. Let us know what you think it takes to make a great first impression.
Yeah. That'll
help us to maybe be able to talk about that. And also give us some of the pain points that you've been through in live streaming. Let us know about those as well. So our next episode, just want to let you know, we're going to talk about building great teams. Because if you don't have a great team, it doesn't matter how much money you have, you will not succeed in having a great live stream. So I'm Pastor Dennis, this is Daryl, and we're here to help you stream better.